Well, good evening. Looks like no music tonight. Well, that's okay. We have got this going. Let's get into it. We've got plenty to talk about. What is going on with our weather? Thank you so much for those who've popped by. Great to see you. Um, and let's get into it. And we will see what the world is going on with the rest of this weather, especially this second low, whereabouts it is, and what we can expect from it over the next few days, the next few hours probably. All right, let's go. We've got plenty to review, so let's have a look. First, look at the satellite picture, and we can see beautiful. I don't know what is going on with my screen tonight. That is not what's on there. But anyway, I don't see you guys are doing. Oh, what is going on? Okie dokies. I don't know, but it is just so we will just fix it up and give me a second and we'll add a different one because I don't know what is going on. Um, but I can beat this system nice and quickly, just like this. And just give me 1 sec. I don't know what's happened here. Good old technology decided to cark it after being so well behaved for so long. But it's all right. We still win. Just let the Terminators know that we're still in control over the system. I don't know what it is doing tonight. It is very frustrating, but bear with me. We're going to fix this any second now. Hopefully you can see that all now. That's all good. Let's go. Alrighty. Well, after a brief interlude there, I am not sure what the world was going on with that. But anyway, we are back. Let's have a look at what is going on in terms of this secondary low. We'll go to the satellite picture first and check that out. And see a lovely dark image, which is great, except that's not what we want to do. We want to go to visible. Let's get you refreshed and operating, and away we go. And we can see this. Wow, everything works fine. We can see here, so the leftover lows over here off the coast, about sort of south, you can see a pretty nasty storm just east of Lord Howe, of Lord Howe Island. Absolute classic, and we'll zoom in on that in a minute. That's absolute massive beast, big source of dish in it. And the other low is round about here somewhere. It's hiding sort of peekaboo at this stage. We can see there's a few little showers still creeping up the coast, and that's what I warned about earlier, that this blob of stuff pushing up. And we, in fact, if you remember when we looked at the models this morning, we'd said it would clear up about lunchtime, and then there was a chance of something a bit later this evening or overnight, and just clipping the coast. So it looks like it's just going to clip the coast. Again, maybe not the low itself, but actually there's sort of bands. We'll zoom in and check out what the latest models have to say about that very shortly. Otherwise, it's looking pretty interesting out there. I need to let's have a look at this storm off Lord Howe Island here, because that is pretty incredible. That big saucer dish and a big overshooting top right in the middle. Only a little bit of lightning, but that is just outstanding. It's like almost like Star Trek's playing the old Tasman Sea visit out there, with the old Enterprise D, whatever it's called these days. Looking at that, let's see if we can see where the low is just on this one. And if we can't identify it visually, we'll go and have a look at the water vapor, and then we'll go and check out the last recent updates and model obviously warnings and what the Bureau is saying in terms of the flooding situation. But it really looks like it's around this way somewhere here. You can see some low level clouds sort of arcing in there and curving in, but it's really sort of hiding itself. It's around here somewhere, and this is the our friend from this morning, headed out way out into the Tasman. That's probably around there. I think that's probably what that storm is in response to, pretty a low level circulation, I'd say. And all eyes now on this feature here, whether it's going to make it or not. It's looking actually quite disorganized and quite weak. So I guess we'll find out very soon and see what it's got in store for us. maybe nothing, maybe something. Let's hope nothing, because we're sort of over it now with nothing sort of happening, aren't we? All right. Let's have a look at, I don't know what is going on here. It's just stuck on that old picture. So let's just go back to here and we'll get rid of that one. And we'll bring this up manually. It's just bizarre. It doesn't really want to work tonight. But that's okay. A good thing that we're adaptive, and you can watch that on there while I just fix this in the background. I don't understand what it is doing. Anyway, first run-in we've had with our new software. And we'll go over here. And we'll put that there. Done. And you give me 2 seconds and we will have a nice fresh screen up here called Running Repairs on the Road. Thank you, OBS, for being so good for so many streams, and then tonight deciding you're just going to chuck it in. Who knows why? Absolute bizarre. Anyway, there we go. Fixed. And welcome back. All done. All right, so let's have a look at the obs for today. We got up to pretty average temperatures, which is good. That bit of sun came out and the wind died off. Again, we haven't had any severe winds since our live briefing this morning. So it's interesting that we've remained under a severe weather warning where we've basically got up to late 20s or early 30s all day. And if we look at, for example, the airport, I think the highest we got at this stage was like 35 since this morning when we talked. So not sure why we're still under this warning for the coast. Even our good old friends down at Guatemala, which have been getting hammered overnight in terms, look at this 100k an hour winds, up to 130 k's an hour for basically nearly most of the morning overnight. Pretty savage. They've got up to 43 knots max since we had our chat this morning, and basically not much since. So yeah, I'm not sure why we are still under this warning, to be honest. I know they've been a bit proactive in this event, but really, even their own models said it would die off today. So I don't know. Let's check this. So they just issued another severe weather warning, again for damaging winds. Again, unsure why. Just for the coastal strip, you can see actually now, if we zoom right in for you, it looks like they're dropping off the Central Coast and the Hunter on that now, which they are, I think. Or hard to tell on that, isn't it? Look at they're scraping in. Is that just they're scraping in the very edge of the coast there or not? It looks like maybe no, it's not. So basically anywhere from the Hunter south to Metro Sydney are now no longer under warning. So basically northern beaches, Sydney, you're no longer under warning. And south from the CBD along the coast, it says still under warning, but given we hadn't had any gusts for a long period of time. Anyway, they say damaging south to southwesterly winds between 60 to 70 k's an hour, peaking around 90 k's an hour, are possible this evening along exposed parts of the coastal fringe. Winds are expected to ease below warning thresholds during Thursday morning. Well, I mean, they've been below warning thresholds all day, and it doesn't look like at this stage it's going to go above warning thresholds again overnight unless we get something major come through. Although there is there's a bit of a burst of that showers, and we'll look at the Doppler wind radar in a minute just to see what is going on there. But otherwise, I think it's pretty much, in the clear for nearly everybody, to be fair. Let's look at rainfall for today. Nothing much at all. As you can see, a few light falls in the east and sort of central areas. And again, we may see some light falls again overnight with that band coming through, but nothing significant. And more importantly, it doesn't look like anything that's going to be contributing to any of the current stream responses or river rises we've seen. So good news there. This is the latest. I'm just going to refresh this for you, make sure it's updated. You can see these are the latest river levels here. Going across, you can see most of them are steady or falling now, which is great news. It looks like the peak has basically gone through. The one we got to keep an eye on, of course, is this Warragamba Dam here, and see what they're going to do. Apparently, they're going to start releasing tonight sometime. I guess depending on just how much it responds to that inflow from the Nepean, because the Wollondilly is not having much coming down it, because you can see if we go back up to the Wollondilly, it's steady and falling. So it's really not much coming in from that perspective. It's just the Nepean now that's obviously putting some there. But we can see that Menangle Bridge, which we saw was at minor flood level today, is already dropping back and almost below minor already. So they will be looking at that hopefully and going, you know what, maybe we can hold off just a little bit longer and not put those people downstream of the dam and any more grief. We can see here the weir popped over just into minor, and it's also heading down below that minor level now. And we can check out the dams at the moment. I believe that the Warrenora was spilling. Not sure about the rest of them, so let's have a look here. The dam. Yep, got over there. So there, 0 is basically, I believe, perhaps the dam. I don't know if this is the dam wall. It's actually the river below the dam. It's hard to tell this. It says Cataract River at Cataract Dam, so I'm assuming this is actually the dam itself, because I thought you think it would go lower than that, but anyway, you can see there's a bit of a peak coming out there, but it's now starting to turn and go down. And well, I wish they would give these things a bit more clarity. Let's have a look. Avon River Dam, Cordo Dam. I mean, I'm assuming it must be the dam, surely. You can see here, got up to just above the dam wall there, looks like that. And the Avon River Dam, again, just over the spillway. So there's definitely some flow coming down there, but not masses of it, which is good to hear. And last, we'll check our friends down at the Warrenora and see how they're going. You can see there's been no interest in any of the Sydney streams at this stage. You can see downstream of the Warragamba Dam, there's really nothing happening there, which is great news for our friends at Lower Portman there. Tracy, shout out to you. Hopefully tonight the dam release won't happen, or if it does happen, it's not going to cause any significant problem. You see Georges River is just nothing happening now. The Warrenora is what we want to look at. I'm assuming, again, this is the dam level. We can see a bit of a peak there over, yep, up to only about 20 centimeters over the dam, but you can see it's dropped back down to about 10, just below 10 centimeters now, and falling pretty good. So that's good to see that is on its way down, which means that the pressure from that area going down the through the Georges River there, back of Minto and Menai, that's the stuff, not Minto, Menai, is going to obviously reduce significantly. So fingers crossed that all sorted out. So it looks like, again, the whole of that pain about potential flooding is going to hopefully not eventuate. Fingers crossed, again, depending on what happens with that dam release. Going to refresh this just in case there's been anything on since we've been off. Snow up in the northern tablelands. It does not surprise us. We did actually say that. Going down to here again, these are just all those precautionary stuff. We can see that latest warning, the polygon's been put on by the SES. Thank you so much to show where it starts. But again, a really sort of weird situation. We can see those poor buggers in the central coast there and east of Gosford, with that coastal erosion from the storm surge in the sea, but hopefully they've rectified that. And as we go down the coast, obviously no surprises here that there's some flooding around those Lake Burrell and Sussex Inlet, places like that, Jervis Bay. Not surprising at all, given the amount of rain that they did have down there. And hopefully that hasn't been exacerbated by that line that's moving through. But otherwise, nothing there that has caused any problem. I see at Cameron they got just basically stay informed, especially Menangle Bridge. They know that the Menangle Bridge to go over, but they've said here at 5:35 only not long ago, minor flooding, but stay informed. There's obviously nothing there. Just keep an eye on their situation. So, may peak near 6 meters with evening minor flooding this evening. Well, it's obviously peaked and it's gone down because we've seen that already. So that looks like that is, knock on wood, with no more overnight falls, like heavy falls anyway. So light falls won't exacerbate it. It's the heavier stuff that we need to keep an eye on. Should be all starting to sort of clear, and which means that the pressure on downstream from the Warragamba should pretty much be eased, fingers crossed. Let's go and have a look at this now. This is a satellite image loop, and I'll just zoom that in for you all. And Tracy is in the chat. I'll get and check that out in a second. She can give us an update what's happening down in the lower reaches of the Nepean Hawkesbury, because she's out that way. Hopefully there's no issues there for her and her guests. All right, so this is the satellite image for the last 12 hours for our little low friend here. You can see just beautiful spinning around there, very cyclonic curvature at one stage there until he starts hitting some dry air off the coast of mid-North Coast. You can see what it does. It just rips him to pieces. And it's also a little bit to do with the fact that the radar coverage out there is pretty poor. But he still maintains a nice, healthy low level circulation. You can see that spin there. You can see he starts to unwind there pretty significantly. That storm is associated with his low level circulation center. I was right. So it's way off there to the east of Lord Howe. So he ain't going to be causing any more problems for us that side of the things, because he'll get captured by the next systems coming through and should start to get shunted to the east tomorrow. It's this next system we're going to keep an eye on, which is to our southeast. Again, not looking overly dramatic on the satellite picture at this stage, and we'll check out the water vapor in next one, and just to see if we can identify exactly where his low level circulation center is, because that gives us a pretty good idea of timing when he comes. You can see here this sort of band of stuff coming in, which is well associated with the back end of that trough that we did see. If you remember, over a couple of days, we saw that wraparound trough pushing up the coast with a bit of a southerly surge, and that is exactly what's happening now. And you can see how fast it's moving, and thankfully there's not much associated with that, not much rain at all. And we will actually go into the radar now and just check that out while we are here. And I'll zoom in for you. Well, 96, that's nice and close, isn't it? We can zoom back out now because we don't need to have that sort of level of detail. So you can see here, that's 12 hours. We don't need 12 hours. Booger off there. Zoom into 1 hour. Turn the sat pick off for it. So you can see some light rain with a couple of moderate sort of bits and pieces pushing through. Ain't going to last long. As you can see, there's clearing just to the south of Illawarra now, and it's moving pretty quickly. So we may see the odd gusty sort of shower with it, and we'll just take the Doppler now. We can see, yeah, some definitely some stronger winds that'll be dragged down with it, but there's nothing there that's in that sort of severe category at this stage, asterisks. But hopefully, you know, it stays that way. There's going to be some pretty strong gusts with these showers, FYI. So don't expect it's going to be sort of all over Red Rover type for wind stuff. But that's in that sort of 50 knot range or late 40s that we saw overnight, or even higher than that, unlikely. But the winds are still quite strong above the surface. So if you are under one of those sort of heavier showers coming through, where it gets into these sort of dark orange or / reddy sort of ones you can see here, expect that there will be some decent gusts coming down with that. So, but generally speaking, some rain pushing through. And we did say, if you remember, the model output this morning said there was probably going to be about, I think it was about 4 to 8 millimeters tonight and overnight. So this is probably, I would say, the last hurrah. But again, we'll check exactly next images where that secondary low is and just exactly what it's going to do. And we'll see what the models are thinking from that as well. But this should probably be it. If we zoom back out to 256, you can see there's not much behind it whatsoever. We go up to 512, which is the whole bigger picture. You can see there's some stuff down there, but you can see automatically they're starting to almost run parallel to the coast. So fingers crossed that should be it for us. And it will clear. You can see it's starting to break up already. I've used the base scan there. You can see pretty much breaking up as it goes through across the coast. So this is the outer bands, that secondary system, and we're watching with great keen interest just to see just how close it gets to us. And again, those people with radar head that has lightning, keep a lookout for some fresh beats, fresh lightning flashes. That will definitely indicate to you where the pressure is lowering, and obviously where the strongest convection is. And it's a good idea whereabouts the system's pretty going to sort of start heading, because that's where pressure's lowering. Of course, that's where lows love to go. That's where they live. That's why they're called a low, surprisingly. Let's go and check out, this is the loop. So we'll start it from the start. This is a beautiful loop of the water vapor image of the whole of the Tasman Sea. So you'll get a really good, nice picture just how strong the trough and those low circulations were. You can see poor old mate got absolutely shafted by some dry air today. You can see that browny color, yellowy color on the water vapor is actually dry air, very dry air. So the more intense that sort of orangey yellowy color is, that's the drier the air is. And you can see the light greys as it gets some moisture, and you can sort of like get a layering effect. And of course, obviously those greens and teals, you can see there is a lot of moisture. Here's that circulation there. So let's watch him. We can put our mouse on him. And here he comes across here. You can always tell because he fires up activity. And then he sort of disappears around here and then there. Right, so that's where he is there. Just very loose. You can see that's our mate, the old low-level circulation center there. You can see the trough extends down to yonder fella here. And then that is what's we're keeping an eye on as to whether he makes it or not. He's not looking anywhere near as deep, and you can see why. Is because there's quite a lot of dry air he's ingesting from around the place. You can see even here, under that sort of cirrus shielding, you can see there's still a lot of dry air at the surface too. So it's definitely inhibiting development. You can see just how much it's just eroding this moisture sort of wave as it flicks around. Um, so yeah, interesting to see if he even survives this bit of dry air coming in. But he's definitely coming. Why did that start there when I went back to here? What a silly system tonight. Yeah, around that area there. So that's definitely worth watching. We can't get obviously Doppler wind out there, unfortunately. But what we can do though is we can have a look at the visible night, day and night. Let's have a look at this loop here. If it gives us a good idea in terms of what we think is coming. So you can see here, like there is not a lot of vorticity at the surface. In fact, it's probably this mass here. You can see there's pretty strong cells there. You can see like crispness of that sort of white cloud, and there's this mass here, and that's the ones we've got to keep an eye on. If anything, it's this, maybe it's this mass here. Um, Again, you can see just how it's starting to be ripped apart as it comes on nighttime. So, and the trough is driving that sort of moist southeasterlies onshore into the south coast. And you see fresh convection out here, so definitely that what's what we're seeing from those models starting to wrap into this. So old mate over here east of Lord Howe Island is starting to sort of fire up again, and this guy here is starting to sort of get impacted. Obviously, his fuel lines are being cut from behind him, which is inhibiting his development because obviously there's no real activity. You can see here a lot of that stuff you can see is high cloud, so it looks dramatic, but there's not much under it. You can see just here is the sort of leftover remnants of that. And if we were to zoom into us, and I zoom across, put it a little bit too zoomed in. Let's go back out to the regional view. That's probably a bit better. So we've got the regional view here, which is a bit more zoomed in. So you can see old mate here in the southeastern corner. For some reason, it's not showing the coastline, but who cares? It'll pick up anyway. And you can just see here, you can see old mate spinning around. Goodbye. This morning, away he goes, and here comes the secondary system. Here's what you want to watch. It's definitely that mass there, but you can see even those last frames starts to just completely fall apart. And then we've got this trough extending down from old mate near Lord Howe Island, and that's where going to follow that line up through. So we should see activity sort of once this line goes through. You can see it's not very high, the clouds among here, so it's more an altocumulus or nimbostratus type system than there is sort of convection. There's a few little white points there, high cloud. You can see chunky cloud there, but they're well off the coast. This stuff here is near Moss Vales. Those are the stuff that's got to sort of clear out. And you can see then the trailing cirrus that's sort of left behind by this sort of one little line going through. So all things being equal, after this stuff does sort of push through, we can see behind it there's not a lot at all. In fact, if we turn the radar on, you see pretty much broken up behind it. Some sort of mid-level showers there, but again, I guess we'll wait and see. The models did sort of flag this would be the case for tonight, and you see over here to this mass now, fresh lightning, which is definitely a sign that it's intensifying over the water. All right, before we head into the models, one thing I did want to show you is just an update on our Eclipse dashboard. Data just come fresh in. Big jump back of the SAM is massive. It's up to, I don't know what that says, the 26th of July, Gilbury. Let's go put in because the SAM actually jumped massively up. It's 2.64. at the moment. It's probably because I actually got the dates wrong. Let's hope it refreshes. It's slow reading on it, but yeah, massive jump in the SAM in the last 3 days has gone from basically like almost in neutral territory, what is in neutral territory, up into very very strong positive territory, up into 2.8, 2.6, and the IOD has dropped back to zero, which is obviously not a good sign in terms of going ahead. Why are you not going? Yeah, why are we stopping on the 26th of June? Right, let's just change it right now. I think it's probably because I actually, yeah, that's what it is. I had a fixed date. Let's make it to yesterday. And that will help us fix up that chart a little bit. I wonder why it was sort of lagging behind, but you can see generally the trend now is looking ahead. There's a bit of a drier surge coming. And again, what the SAM going into positive means is that that belt of westerlies, which is around the Antarctica and the polar areas, is extending northwards, and that normally means that that those horrible westerlies extend across us, which means that's good for the snowies and so the western side of the Great Dividing Range. And for us, we have that drier winds, horrible winds pushing through, and that's one of the things we did see this morning. I think, and last night we looked at the sort of extended models, that southwesterly change and that westerly wind regime for basically the next few days coming. So you can see here, massive jump in the SAM, like the biggest jump so far in probably this year, I think, and maybe even for the last 6 months. It went from a value of basically here minus 0.1, so negative, and then way up into 2.6, which is it's a pretty significant shift. And again, that's, as I said, good for the snowies probably, and those upper elevated areas who do well in that sort of southwesterlies flow, like Oberon and the western side of the Great Dividing Range and the Western Blue Mountains, of course. But for us, we're going to be dried out like and again, as I said, the Enzo SOI is just deadline. It's flattened. It is just no heartbeat at all. In fact, it's been almost zero now for a few days, which is really bang on neutral. No influence of that. And as I said, the IOD has dropped back again. So all these predictions of a positive IOD is back at zero. So being negative for a while, it's risen back up to zero, which is not a good sign at all. We should be starting to see a pretty significant trend for that now going down if it's going to be a negative IOD. So that's not good news for those inland hoping for some extra rain. Shame for those poor buggers. But anyway, let's get back into the models now, and fingers crossed it's going to behave itself. Beautiful. And let's go into see what in store the next 24 hours has for us. And other than that, we will hop on questions and let you people hop in the road. Okay, so tonight we got EC. Is it updated? Check that quickly because it's been updated 27 minutes ago. Great. So we've got live reaction data fresh off the servers for all of us. All right, so we're going to move it up now for the south because that's where the focus is going to be. Nothing coming from the north at all for this stage. All right, so let's have a look at the next few hours. You can see those winds retreating off the coast, that band staying off the coast persistently, which is probably why the Bureau may have kept their warning up just basically as a precaution because it does hang around. But still nothing on us, as you can see over time. And this little wobble that we saw does get absorbed and does not make it anywhere near us. And you can see here the rapidly weakening tomorrow and heading off to New Zealand. But you can see for us, nothing comes ashore other than maybe late 30s again overnight, some sort of gusty sort of showers, I think. But you can see there's nothing there in terms of any penetration into the west by that system. You can see that little trough sort of wobble up, but then you can see it gets cut off pretty quickly and nothing much happens with it. So I expect that we're going to see a bit of a drying trend in EC in terms of the rainfall outlook. But that's basically it, other than after what we get this a bit tonight. GFS, I'm expecting is probably going to stay the same. Let's have a look. A bit of a wobble around. You can see again that clipping of the coast. And you can see that next system come up here. This little bulge here is that sort of Fujiwara sort of circulation that's sort of been chatted about. We talked about last night and this morning. We can see it is gone. A bit of pulsing around, but again, rapidly clearing out. And even on GFS, it's had enough, and away it goes. But the key thing is to show is that we stay under this dry south-westerly flow, basically after this sort of southerly surge overnight tonight. Not much there at all. So again, I expect GFS is going to show us some brief coastal showers and a bit of kick up. All right, Icon. So Icon, our friend, there is Mr. Fujiwara partner. Again, just to our southeast, which is basically where we just saw it again on the satellite picture. So we're pretty much in sync with that, which is good to see. And you can see here again, the Illawarra is still copping at maybe the very far southeast coast of the Royal National Park and the very coastal fringe, but nothing more above those 30s. You can see those purples don't really get across the coast. And our little Fujiwara friend doesn't make it anywhere near us. And it goes exactly where that lightning is in that increasing convention that we just saw on that satellite picture. So there you go. Picked like a broken nose, goes right up that line and away, and they POQ to New Zealand and leave us all alone. So again, Icon pretty much matching what we've seen in terms of the satellite picture as well as EC. GFS a little bit more broader, but that's because it's a lower res, so it's just smoothed it out. It's not getting that nuance of exactly how close to the coast it is. But again, Icon doesn't really penetrate any sort of severe winds at all across that coast. Still going to be some winds around. It's not going to suddenly go calm. So don't read that into what I'm saying. But in terms of the severe winds that we've seen and that have been forecast, according to the models anyway, it's all over Red Rover. All right, Axis, let's have a look at our friend Axis is saying. So again, that mid-30s we can see, which has been, again, staying a bit gusty overnight, which is probably why the Bureau has just kept it just as in case. But you can see here, easing rapidly overnight. We can see our friend Mr. Fujiwara there down to the southeast, which is basically Icon had him, which again, so we're pretty much nailed him where he's in the satellite picture. And you can see again, he follows that same pathway that Icon had, which is where that line of storms is. So that's definitely where he's traveling. There's obviously a trough forming there. He's going up through the trough, connecting to his old mate. They'll go and then join up as conjoined twins and form a decent, massive sized Tasman low, but no further effects for us. Definitely looks like that overnight it's going to clear, especially in terms of us. The south coast and maybe the Illawarra may still get a clip. You can see here there's still a bit of a clip tomorrow, but 30 knots is nothing unusual for us at all. Again, you can see that little bulge, that little secondary trough here. And so this is actually, this system is, let's just zoom out and show you what it's going on. So it's actually just a ginormous Tasman low, and it's got these little bulges, and all these little bulges are like little gravity waves, little troughs associated with instability pulses as it turns around. So if you watch the broader animation of it, now it's gone out there, you can see these little bulges. Each of these little bulges is a trough. It's a little pulse of instability. So you watch as it circulates around that main sort of area. There's little pulses, and every time those little pulses come near us, we get a little stab of winds. And you can see Axis has got one there, which is past us. This is the one coming sort of tomorrow morning, and again another one. But generally, the system is moving away to the east, so the influence of those pulses will obviously quickly die off. So you can see even the one coming through now, there's a little pulse. So a little pulse, a little trough. Most of it offshore, but that's that little bulge in the isobars, which is giving us the showers and a bit of gusty winds again. You can see then that race is past. The next one is going to be that one that's going to come in tomorrow morning sometime. You can see just sort of jutting out, bit of a pulse there, and then the actual support for it is completely lost. You can see how it shreds apart there, and there's no real pulse there. You can see this westerly sort of regime. So I think tonight's one, and then it looks like one tomorrow morning, but again, it doesn't look like there's going to be any winds with it. Like, it doesn't get up into severe, probably gets mid 30s again, but that's what we had all day. And we'll check actually, let's check the rainfall now while we're here, just to rule off some extra showers. So we can see again, this is that band, which is Axis has picked up quite nicely. And you can see the consequences of the way that you can see how that rain then starts to head off to the northeast. So you think it's coming up the coast to get us, and then over to the northeast to go. So you can see still those little coastal showers, which is what we flagged this morning, was definitely going to be the change. But the greatest convergence and the heavier stuff is definitely into the south coast and moving away. And then you watch again that little bulge come through. You can see how it sort of juts out, and then may just scrape us tomorrow. There you go. So around tomorrow, sometimes that trough sort of pushes through. The chance maybe for some showers on access tomorrow. Um, but then that's about it. All right, let's go and have a look at what the other model said too. Let's see what EC says. You can see, friends, you can see that line of storms, which is what we just seen. So nicely picked there, EC. You can see our little mate, Mr. Fujiwara down here. And let's see how it bulges around. You can see that sort of band of sort of showery rain that's sort of pushing through now. Again, overnight, just clips the coast, little showers, but nothing heavy. You can see those figures under the Sydney name there. So basically the rainfall. And with this little bulge coming through again tomorrow, this one here, which is axis picked up as well. So pretty much in tandem. And you can see the storms it's causing out the coast. You can see how EC doesn't actually get it anywhere near the coast and keeps it way off. And then any support for that system has disappeared. So that's the sort of the big difference between EC and Axis at the moment. Axis sort of gets a bit closer. EC says not having none of that. All right, GFS, no doubt it will be a little bit wetter, as you can see, because of that smoothing effect. And so it's just basically spreads it out across. But you can see pretty much the same as what we've seen. Those little pulses, those little troughs as they circulate around the main center, just clipping us. But again, nothing that's in any way going to cause any alarm or any problems. And last but not least, Icon, we'll see what it does as well. So you can see little mate Fujiwara, you can see lightning, which we've seen again with both those systems, so nicely picked. And there's that mass on the south coast again. So, you know, despite having their annoyances and their problems that last in actually the start of this event, now the event's underway and it's sort of the pattern stabilizes. It's actually picking it pretty damn well, to be honest. All four of them really picking it like a broken nose. But, well, wait, wait there. Maybe they're saying it's a negative thing. Because you really can't pick a broken nose, can you? Because it's sort of all over the place and you sort of can't get the old finger up there. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're saying is a negative thing and a positive thing. I mean, I wouldn't have thought it can't be easy because a broken nose wouldn't be easy to pick. What a weird discussion. All right. So again, icon is the same, just that little burst of showers and what we're getting now. So basically EC, access, icon, tick, GFS even tick as well. And then we got this sort of wraparound sort of trophy thing. You can see it hangs off the coast. And you can see Icon does have the same thing as what Axis, EC is saying. So Axis is by itself. Icon says, yeah, nah, not going to get close. And then Friday is definitely fine. If anybody wants to do anything outdoors, we had a question there. It's definitely clear as a bell. Nothing happening much there. All right, let's quickly check what the old Axis C is saying. Our higher res friends, so don't forget your Lani. So we'll zoom in for this because it won't have much out there because it's a much of a higher res model, which means it doesn't go very far out. All right, so there's Mr. Fuji out there. You can see this is that band of sort of showery things we just seen on the radar. You can see again, Axis has picked up pretty, Axis anyway, pretty good. Not pushing a lot of it into the city, so it's actually into the Sydney, so it's actually missed out that. Well, I mean, it does have a bit of rainfall there, I guess, so it can't be too critical, but it's not picking that up. You can see it basically stalls on the Illawarra and then starts to get dragged away to the northeast. And then we'll look for a little bulge. Here it comes here. So you can see this trough here, how the winds are sort of bulging around. That's our little trough friend coming up that we've been watching. You can see these sort of streaky lines here, which indicates that there's more stream showers as opposed to this mass, which is more like a massive shower. So you can see just the difference in the difference between the higher res models and the lower res models. You know, the lower res models will just clump together like, you know, a smooth shading, whereas the higher res models give you this more detailed lines sort of feature. And you can see again here, just a bit of those. So it agrees with its sister. So definitely some showers tomorrow afternoon. If there's that sort of southerly southeasterly surge sort of pushes past with that little trough. But so it's 2 versus 2. It's sort of Axis and Axis C versus GFS. EC and Icon at the moment. And GFS, well, you know, it's GFS land. Interesting. All right, we'll look at quickly at the accumulated rainfall. Don't expect we're going to see much out of that, to be honest. But anyway, we should touch base with it. And we'll just do the whole outlook period because we know it clears by tomorrow night. Again, barrel 38 mils. That's pretty good, that mass that's right over them right now. Hopefully that shouldn't put too much pressure. If that does fall on the Nepean 38 mils, most of that will run off pretty quickly because the ground's wet, but it's not a massive widespread rainfall, and a lot of it could actually run over the southern side into the Shoalhaven, and hopefully not into the Wingecarribee and into the Wallandilly, which will put pressure on that side of things. Let's have a look at EC now. Yeah, EC is pretty much what we see, up to 10 mils maybe. Again, not much there. It's good to see. Good old Get Far Away Soon. It's a bit more generous in its falls, but nothing there that's going to cause any worries. But still, 16 mils would be nice. Your old Icon drier as a nuns, and we not got much there. Again, that sort of bulge in land. That's that Knights Hill, Saddleback Mountain range effect, pushing those winds up and those moist winds up over the elevated areas, causing them to condense and on the orographic effect and squeezing the life out of them. So that's how they've done so well so far. And last but not least, the old GFS, Access. Yeah, again, pretty much agrees with the other model. So yeah, not much left out of this system. Maybe 5 to 10 mils at most. There's down Barrow Mossford way. Enjoy your extra sort of burst of enhanced rainfall thanks to the escarpment to your south. But that's pretty much it. All over Red Rover. All right, so I guess the forecast tonight is we'll go back to the radar and the sat pic. So you can see already it's starting to break apart over the other way, which is what the models did say. You can see that clump of heavy rainfall over the models over that area, which the models did say. So hats off to them at this stage. Nice work. Forecast weather, I think is that temperatures or winds are going to give us something. There's the winds. They aren't going to give us anything. Oh, the current temps, here we go. Nice and chilly though. Low teens. Lucky us. All right, so let's have a quick look in. We'll go in now. We don't need to go any further. You can see the stuff on the south coast, even since we've been talking, totally breaking apart. So this is definitely it. This is that line of activity and storms that we saw on the models and also before, where this is where your old mate Mr. Sumi Fujiwara is going. And you can see this one here is really firing off up there. The secondary, you can see actually the back end of him now, that low level circulation center, that little circle. I think generally by the say this is probably the last surge we'll see, other than that one wraparound tomorrow that we did mention on the models. Let's have a quick look at the animation here and give us an idea where it's going. And then I'll stick on the forecast radar thanks to Nowcast lightning detected. And we'll get an idea where it thinks the rain's going to go. You see already it's starting to fall apart as it gets across the Illawarra, which is a good sign. We didn't really want too much more coming in. You can see here before that was pretty consistent. The old ranges are sort of breaking apart. This heavier blob going over the back of Warragamba won't cause too many problems because it's the Wallandilly, which is the catchment here. It hasn't had much in it at all. So, and it's avoiding the Nepean, which is great for the people at Camden and those areas along there. So, all right, let's have a look, Mr. Radar, and see where you are forecasting to go after this. So you can see this weird hatching effect is where the radar, the model's sort of forecasting for the next hour or so. You can see that showers will clear through, and you can see it's starting to actually clear. And you can see the heavier stuff is pushing over the Blue Mountains and the central Blue Mountains. So that's away from us, right across Warragamba Dam, which is probably the best place for it to fall. And nothing behind it at all. So once this sort of band clears through, some light to moderate rain, and no doubt some gusty winds with it, that should probably be it for tonight. Looking at this, you can see the forecast radar is pretty clear. Thank goodness. Pretty much what we saw this morning, models run, and pretty late last night's model runs as well. So congrats, good job, models. Obviously, the nuances around exact timing is a bit different to what we've seen, but generally speaking, they've pretty much nailed this since the event started. Before, no, they were pretty ordinary. All right, I will go back and check the actual local radar here because we can zoom in. This is a bit gets a bit scatty on this system and doesn't like being so close. So we'll go back and check year old here and a bit close. And just keep an eye on this. A bit of a heavy rainfall on the eastern side, thank goodness of that stuff. So it shouldn't fall too much into those areas. And you can see it's clearing already from the south. I think that's pretty a bit of some decent heavier blobs there. And you can see already clearing through the back of the Illawarra there. Just check the base skin out. Yeah, it's not anywhere near as heavy as I expected. So I think that's a bit of a crossover effect between Appin and Terry Hills. They're having a bit of a stitching issue there because it's definitely not anywhere near as heavy as it's making out to be. And you can see it's definitely starting to fall apart as it loses that connectivity to the flow, which is calling it, which is this bit of a wave here. You can see, if I was to show the velocity here, you can see just a bit of a boundary line pushing through a bit of gravity wave. You can see here, pushing quite clearly through on the Doppler. So you can see then behind it starts to, as the Doppler clears, even though the winds are still there, the winds don't go away, but it's just, that's the clearing effect. Already starting to clear through the back southern end of the Illawarra already, which is good news. So enjoy a bit more rain now for probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. It's moving pretty quickly, so it shouldn't last around too long. And that will be it overnight. And then we get that second burst potentially tomorrow. We'll see what the models say. Have a look at them in the morning. Otherwise, pretty much done and dusted. All right, let's have a look at everybody. Say good day to everybody and then get it all out of your hair. Shut the hell up. Hello, Mr. Moore. Hello, That Kayak Fisher. Mr. Amelia, and lucky you. Lovely to see you. Funky Diva. Lovely to see you as well. Oh, this message retracted. I wonder what the hell that's about. Is that because it's been censored by YouTube or what? I don't know. Or some people just deleting because they spelt something wrong. I always miss them. Can I explain why this is in the cyclone? Yeah. Hello, Rachel. Lovely to see you. Mr. Sharp, the Mayor of Camden and the Lawn Doctor Extraordinaire. Okay, so I had this discussion with the Wandering Weatherman who was trolling our page, but he decided that maybe he didn't know as much as he thought he did. And I had this discussion with him about the difference between lows and all that sort of stuff. So, meteorologically speaking, and I like to go by definitions, even though we do use the slang term low, every low pressure system is a cyclone. And that is because that is what they're scientifically classified as, whether they're a weak cyclone, or they're a tropical cyclone, or they're rated, whatever they are still all cyclones from, a 1010 low pressure system on a map, barely struggling to meet its ends to, like a category 5 super typhoon in the Western Pacific slamming into Guam or something like that. They're all technically meteorologically classified as cyclones. Now that's different to a trough of low pressure. They're not called cyclones. So that is the difference. And I think that's what's happened is over the period of time, everybody has just grabbed onto lows and, trough of low pressures, and use that incorrectly, and it's just been propagated. So once you get a discrete circulation, like we've seen, it's called a cyclone, technically a cyclone, meteorologically a cyclone, scientifically a cyclone, but we do call them lows because I think that's, if we call them a cyclone, the correct terminology, it tends to induce mass panic into society. Supermarkets get cleaned out, people go and build sandbags around their houses. You get people sort of shooting each other, thinking they're looting, and all that sort of general chaos that ensues when the word cyclone is mentioned. So that's why people, I think they definitely use the word low in terms of that. But in terms of whether this is a cyclone or not, well, let's get into the nuances of that. Really, if we're using the meteorological term, then yes, it is a cyclone. But if we're using the term insofar as what we do slang-wise or euphemistically, or the way we've been using the word low, trough or low pressure system and cyclone interchangeably, then no, it would not be a cyclone, because to be fair to the naming conventions, they only use the word cyclone for warm chord tropical cyclones. They don't use the word cyclone for anything else. Even for a deep 975, polar low in the Southern Ocean, it should actually technically be called a cyclone. It is a cyclone, but they don't use the term cyclone because of the general association to warm chord tropical cyclones, so they don't use that. So to correct it, Funky Diva, you are correct. It is not a cyclone in terms of how we call it here, because we don't use that terminology. Meteorologically and scientifically speaking, it is a cyclone, but again, we don't use that terminology. So erring on the side of what the Bureau call it, no, it is not a cyclone. It has cyclonic structures and cyclonic impacts, but we do not call it a cyclone. And as I was pointing out to Mr. Wandering Weatherman today, if the Bureau say this is what it is and this is the terminology we use, because as soon as we start picking and choosing our own definitions, And wandering from that, we get ourselves into not into meteorology, not into science. We get into assumptions, personal beliefs, and values, and that is not what we, just you can't forecast by that, because then you can just change the definition to whatever you want it to be. Oh, that's okay. It's no longer a low. It's a it's a trough of excitement, or it might be it's getting a shot of Viagra, or I don't know, whatever, some weird terms that people come up with. I try and stick where as humanly possible, and sometimes in my excitement and my hyperbole, I do maybe descend into the old slang terms. But by and by, I try and stick to the meteorological term, or I honour the naming conventions that the Bureau have put in place, which is they reserve the word East Coast low, for example, to the low that has certain atmospheric ingredients. And I've shared that recipe list with you guys a number of times. And I will defend that to the day I die. I don't care if people go around. I mean, I had somebody in the comments say, "Oh, that's right," it was the wandering weatherman, and said, "But okay, the Bureau may not have said it's an East Coast low, but every other weather page, including Weather Zone, has." Well, that doesn't make them right. And we've seen through history, consensus sometimes in the community doesn't mean they're right. I mean, they used to burn witches. They all agreed on that. They used to throw gay people off roofs. That doesn't mean that's right either. They used to do a lot of things. I used to think the earth was flat because that's what consensus said. We all know that's incorrect now too. So just because a whole group of people do it doesn't mean it's right. It just means a whole group of people do it. And that nuance is lost on many a person who decided to try and troll me over the last few days in support of a certain Voldemort page, who I've never named, mind you. And they name it for me, which is great, so I don't do it. But and the complete principle of that post was totally lost, which is like, you do not go out and impact people's mental health with one model run 6 days away from an event and say, "Oh my God, this is coming," and use hyperbole. Just whatever. I don't know how I got onto that subject, but I'm rambling again. But anyway, you should actually put like some sort of taser or something attached to the comments. So if you hear me rambling, you people who are subscribers can hit the button and zap my gonads and get me back on track. All right. I've talked about a whole lot of stuff tonight, including about picking a broken nose. That's an interesting one. All right. So hopefully that answers your question in a long way around, Funky Diva. But yeah. Tim Bailey never had these tech issues. Yeah, no, Tim Bailey just had hair issues. I don't know why. It's worked perfectly fine. Every single live stream I've done, and I've done probably 30 now on using the system, and tonight I'm just like, I don't know what it is. I think maybe because they didn't shut it down from this morning. I think maybe it needs to refresh the connections. Maybe that's a little key for my going forward. Definitely looking like some good weather next few days at all. No problems on the Warrenora. So good to hear that, Cody. Thank you for the update. Daniel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Tracy, lovely to see you. Is everything all good at Lower Portman? You probably said that already in the comments. I'm working my way down now. I'm up to 6:20, by the way, so yeah, I'm 20 minutes behind. The way too wet for mowing. Yep, won't be any turf around here. Yep, no surprises there. Barry, August winds usually come around mid-July. The bit of westerly comes. Yeah. In fact, you know what we may be seeing is, with that massive jump in the SAM that we've got going on, is we may be about to see the start of the wind season, those westerly winds pushing through. That could possibly be the indicator, the climatic indicator anyway, that it's not far away. That's horrendously thinking of that. As I hate those winds, they dry you out more than, yeah, anyway. I'm not going to say that. YouTube will probably block me and ban me. Let's go. Does anyone do a coverage of how the model is predicted to how the system actually played out? I try to. The thing is, for Sean, and actually now we've got all the videos, so it possibly could be I could actually probably go and get them all cut and then actually upload the videos to. I could actually upload them to ChatGPT and my little GPT mate and get it to actually go and do a summary, and actually I could do that. It's a bit of work there behind the scenes, but I tend to do that anyway. After this one, because I think this one's worth a reanalysis, but we'll see. But yeah, all the models are on there. We've seen it for 6 days now, or is it 5 days or something like that? We've been doing lives, and 2 times a day there's models on there. I always keep thinking to myself, why didn't I save screen grabs of that? Why didn't I save screen grabs of that? because reanalysis is incredibly difficult because there's very few places that actually give you access to the data. Some places do, and they can be problematic getting the data out. And yeah, anyway, but that's a good point. I might try and do that. Mm. Um, when in my spare time. Oh, I don't have any spare time, so too bad. Interesting. Everything I looked up talked about the warm tropical foundations, etc. Funky diva. Exactly. I think that's what's generally been adopted, as I said, funky diva. In naming conventions is, and I think that's actually maybe even initiated by the World Meteorological Association. Because you think about every other area on planet Earth except for the area around India and the Bay of Bengal don't call them cyclones. They call them typhoons or hurricanes. So we are the only jurisdiction plus the Bay of Bengal, I think, if I remember, calls them tropical cyclones. Oh, yeah, they're tropical cyclones. They're not typhoons, there, are they? We're the only place on the planet that actually does call them tropical cyclones. And perhaps we should actually move away from using the word cyclone and actually use the word typhoon or, please not hurricane, weak enough Americanization as it is. I like the word typhoon actually because it really does describe quite accurately what they're about. Typhoon. And perhaps that's probably the naming convention we should have adopted as opposed to just using the word cyclone, because then, typhoon is not a meteorological term in describing, a closed circulation, like a cyclone is, for example. And that would be brilliant. But then, of course, you've got generations of people you have to re-educate. There's a good idea. Let's open some re-education camps. Oh, wait, there. Other countries have done that. They've sort of frowned upon these days, aren't they? Joking, of course. But yeah, that's pretty what it is, Funky Diva. We definitely need to pretty move away from using the word cyclone anyway. Thank you so much, Mr. Sharp, and we love the Lawn Doctor and yourself. Thank you so much for your support over the time too, and sending all the stuff through to you, and always being my little inside mole, going onto all the pages and tagging me in all the sort of updates and bits and pieces I don't have a time to look at during the day when I'm working, and trying to do 15 things at once. Oh, teriyaki stir fry. Well, where's mine, Daniel? Oh, I could say some swear words on here. Actually, I'm looking at the time. I need to sort of go and prepare my dinner too soon. Thank you as well for the kind words, everybody. It's been great to have your company, pleasure of company again. We should have an Australian term, but so absolutely agree. Think of one. Let's suggest one. Not sure. What can we call it? Windy whirly? No, don't please. We don't want an Aussie one because some of those ones are absolute goddamn cringeworthy. Like, what's it? Whirly and I mean, I don't mind Dust Devil, but it's hardly Dust Devil because it's full of rain. What's the other one we got there? Cockeyed Bob, which is one I remember from the old metallurgical term handbook that I used to read and study when I was a kid. Cockeyed Bob is like a term for like a land spout, I think. Yeah, I mean, some of our Aussie terms, please, they're absolute cringe. They're, yeah, let's avoid that crap. But we could come up with a good name. Yeah, we could show a naming competition. Avoid cyclones. Gustnados. Well, that's actually a term, but I love gustnados. That's actually, I think that's. I don't know that they actually adopted the WMO has adopted as actually a meteorological term, but it's a pretty good one. It's a one that appears on the gust front. I think actually it is a meteorological term now. It's been accepted as one, but that's vorticities on the edge of a gust front. Not a tornado. Not a land spout, and they're involved in the inflow band because gust fronts are basically just the storm sucking up the air in the front of it, front loading or sucking the air up, and as the air gets sucked into the storm, it squeezes, it condenses, and that's what that big shelf cloud or that big, they call it whale mouth because it looks like you're going to the side of it, like on a whale shark off in Ningaloo Reef, for example. That's what that really represents. So you get these gustnados or these vorticities as the air gets sucked up into it, and the shear spins it around. But you call it a big gustnado. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, actually, like but that's based upon the Beaufort scale, which is not a Australian convention. That's actually a World Meteorological Convention, Barry. So that's why they call it hurricane level. So you've got like the different levels of winds. You've got storm force, and you've got hurricane force, and then you've got, I think, what's after hurricane force? I think that's the top one. But all those sort of terms are actually on the Beaufort scale, which is actually a meteorological convention. So that's pretty where a hurricane came from in terms of the use in America, I imagine. And perhaps we should adopt, and I actually do like one thing that the Americans do very well is actually their hurricane warning systems where they have the named storms and then they have the hurricanes. I think, we should have named storms here in Australia for sure. I think the Bureau should adopt that because this sort of system we're seeing here now would be a named storm. Because it's a closed circulation, it's got winds over a certain speed. You could literally name it. For example, it could be Polar Storm Funky Diva, for example. Um, the Lord has farted. A wet blowy thing. Yeah, that sounds like something that Anthony Albanese got at a Thai massage place many years ago. So maybe we should pretty avoid that. Um, all right, I'm gonna get off because I have to go make dinner. Fav, love you all. Thank you so much again for your company. I don't know how this is just going to play out when I try and do my little fancy closing tonight. We shall soon see, I guess. What a naughty machine. But otherwise, it has been an absolute pleasure and honor for you all again. Thank you so much for your time. And it's Sean's favorite time of the night, so I can't hopefully miss out on that. Let's see how we go. No, he's dead as a doornail tonight. I don't know what is going on. He's just absolutely died. Actually, no, I know what it is now. I know what it is. It's because I have my Thunderbolt 4 hub where obviously my work PC and this PC, and I have to change the USB-C cable because there's only one output, as you know, from a hub. Who knows why they created things like that these days, but and I reckon what it is because when it disconnects from the SSD, which is where all my weather stuff is located, it destroys the connection unless I reforce OBS to find that connection again by restarting the program. It just doesn't look for it and won't care about it. That's pretty what it is. I think I worked out problems. Tech solved it online thanks to all you people help. Well, I mean, you didn't do anything, but I don't mind sharing the glory. Cranky bugger. Yeah, there's plenty of those going around. Have a great night. I don't know. I don't know. We're going to just put up the good night. Thanks for your support and company, and maybe I should sing la la la. You can play the end music all by myself. Yeah, bugger that. Let's just say good night. Thanks again, and we will catch you all a bit later. Have a pleasant evening and be nice to each other. Okay, ciao now. Bye.